Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Roshan's Cake and Bake. I am Roshan, the Roshan in Roshan's Cake and Bake. Please look for us on Instagram, Roshan's Cake and Bake, or on Facebook. We also have a website, www.roshanscakeandbake.co.za. Today, in conjunction with Cook Halal, we'd like to take 5 simple ingredients and turn them into these beautiful sweet pastries in front of you. So we're going to start off with butter, sugar, eggs, vanilla, and a combination of self-raising and cake flour. In addition to that, once you've made this very basic biscuit dough, you're going to use some apple and cinnamon and raisins to make a filling to create apple crumble. We will obviously need some fresh cream because no apple crumble is complete without it. To create the little fruit tartlets, you can use any combination of seasonal fruits. I've just chosen strawberries, kiwi and blueberries today, and I've used a base of a simple confectioner's custard. Then an old firm Cape Town favorite is the hetsogi with the jam and coconut. No biscuit without that is complete. And then we've also got a caramel and cream, which is my personal favorite. And we've done a lemon meringue, and we've done a little bit of a milk tart as well. So you can see that this biscuit is very versatile. You can turn it into almost anything. It can be simple or it can be exotic. So let's get started. Lift open your mixer, take the butter. Now when it's cold, it would be best to take your bowl and actually heat it up a little bit. So with the water restrictions in Cape Town, we always have our bucket of water that's boiling, the one with the element in it. And I actually take the bowl and I dip it in there so my bowl is warm and my butter will cream faster in the winter. In the summer, that's not going to be so much of an issue. So it's looking just about ready now. Let's add the sugar to it. I'm going to switch the mixer on again on a low speed, gradually adding the sugar. We're going to let that sugar combine nicely. So you see, it takes a while for the butter to become just the right creaminess and very light in color, as white as can be. That obviously will depend on the type of butter you are using. Some butters having more colorants than others, so it will take slightly longer. But persevere, have some patience, and it will get to just where you want it to be. So we need the sugar to essentially dissolve into the butter, which is not really going to happen without heat. But the longer you mix it, and you can see that now it's changing, it's looking granular. And when I'm going to switch it off and just give it a stir through with a scraper to get to the sugar at the bottom. And you can actually see how that looks different now. And once that sugar and butter is completely combined, we can move on to adding the rest of our ingredients. So now that we have mixed that for a while, you can see that the sugar and butter have mixed through nicely. We're now going to add the egg. We're just adding 1 egg. So just to be on the safe side, always crack the egg into a bowl in case there's a rotten one in the bowl. We're going to add that. If you wanted it to go faster, you could give the egg a slight whisk so that it will emulsify faster with this mixture. Because you can see now the egg is kind of just lying on top of the butter and the sugar, which is not the ideal. But we're going to pop the vanilla in, and then we'll just take the scraper through and give it a little bit of a mix to help its process along. And scrape down everything nicely so that you're sure you've got all your ingredients in the right proportion. Because baking is an exact science, so one doesn't really want to be leaving anything out because they all form part of the final product that we want to arrive at. So there we go, egg mixing through nicely with the vanilla, butter and sugar. Can you believe that this very simple recipe is going to create what you see in front of you? You're going to just mix that through nicely. I like to give it a thorough mix. I don't believe this is something that you can overbeat. Now, once we're going to add our flour, I'm going to do the cheat way, but I mean, you've already realized that that's what Roshan does. But then if you do this every day, you can cheat. You might prefer to add your flour little bits at a time with the lid of your mixer on, preferably so you don't have a cloud of flour in front of you and mess up your sinuses. So you turn your mixer on a low speed, and we're going to combine that flour through nicely so that we can get this beautiful dough that'll be at just the right consistency and texture for us to roll out. So we've got it's crumbly now, but soon it should get together to form a perfect ball of dough. I'm going to turn that off just so that in case there's any liquid stuck at the bottom that's causing us some grief, we can mix that through, and you can see that it's looking a little bit like a scone right now. But don't be alarmed, shortly you'll have a beautiful dough inside. So our dough has formed nicely. And you can make it into smaller balls so that it'll be easier for you to roll. So since I'm working on a small surface, I'm going to take an even smaller piece just to show you what I want to do. So what I've done is I have pre-sprayed this tray. And I like to roll using a piece of plastic. So clearly I use much bigger pieces of dough ordinarily, so I have a really large piece of plastic. And we're going to roll this out. So you could use a dough guide. So that is pieces of wood that you'd put on either side to ensure that you got your dough to an even depth. But I kind of just wing it, because who really has that kind of energy and time to have different pieces of wood for each different type of dough that I work with daily. So if you look closely, it's still a little bit too thick for what we want. So we don't want the pastry shell to be too thick, because then you're not really going to enjoy your filling, because all you're going to have is all this biscuit going there. So let's just roll that out a little bit more. So I'm very fond of this particular shape. I'm a symmetrical person, so I like a nice rounded shape. So I'm going to cut out a few of these. So I'm going to use a lifter and gently loosen them. And I'm going to place them in the tray. So you can use your fingers to mold that nicely, because we want to get the shape. Right? So I'm going to do another one just in case you think I'm cheating you and not showing you the way I do it. So I'm literally taking that, placing it in the tray and using my fingers to create the shape. We're going to take a fork and make some fork marks. Why do you do this? You just want to release some of that steam that's going to be created there, and also want to bake it through thoroughly, because the last thing you really want to do is have a biscuit that hasn't been baked through. So even the way in which I'm going to tell you to bake this is like you haven't done before. So, right, we're going to bake these blind to create the caramel cream one and the jam and coconut herzogie. And what we're going to do for that is I've got some pre-cut pieces of greaseproof paper, wax paper, and I'm going to put the waxy side down on the inside. Why am I doing that? So that when we take it out, it won't stick. If you use the side that is not waxy, you're actually going to pull up some of your biscuit base. So I'm not going to use the fancy beans that you buy at the baking shops for baking blind. I'm using normal beans, not ones we've used before clearly. They are brand new beans. You may reuse them several times and keep them in a separate container, because once they've been used as baking blind beans, they have a strange smell, so you can't really use them afterwards. So we're going to do that. So then, if you wanted to do this and put a filling in afterwards, you'd bake it blind. If not, you would simply now add your apple mixture for your apple crumble. So in here I've got pineapples that I've used the tin variety, but you can take Granny Smith apples and make your own filling. So I've cubed them nicely. I've added some cinnamon and raisins, and you can then fill this up prior to baking them. So normally I'm a little bit psychotic and I add, I'll put exactly 3 raisins in each apple crumble so that you don't have that one person who says you did not give me enough raisins. And what I did was I've set aside some dough, because you're going to need some dough to grate to put on the top of the apple crumble. So I like a finer texture because I think that just looks prettier. And you simply pop that on the top as much as you like. Some people like it nice and covered. I like mine completely covered, all the apple covered, so that I'm going to have a nice crispy topping with which to enjoy with my fresh cream, which is an absolute must with an apple crumble. And that is how you're going to turn this simple dough into these beautiful pastries in front of me. Well, for all the baking instructions, you'll check out the Cook Halal website. So we have cooled these down now, and I just want to show you how to finish 2 of them, because I've shown you the apple crumble and the others you can kind of wing it, I'm sure. We're going to take some confectioner's custard that I've made and cooled down. I'm sure that you have a fantastic recipe of your own. If not, I will attach that as well to the recipe with the basic biscuit dough. And to add some pre-cut strawberries, a blueberry, 2 pieces of kiwi, and there we have a little fruit tartlet for you. I'm sure that if that's not your flavors of fruit, you could actually just put a blob of cream and strawberries with it, and maybe a little strawberry jam underneath would give it a nice little zing. Then let's just go Cape Town traditional and do coconut and jam. So we've pre-cooked the coconut and just some apricot jam. And there you go. Nice little hetzogie versus the fruit tartlet. Are we traditional? Are we modern? I hope you're going to enjoy making these as much as I've enjoyed showing you how to do it. Thank you so much for watching this episode. For this recipe and other interesting food and sweet recipes, you can check out cookhalal.com. If you want to see other serving suggestions of how I've dressed these, feel free to check out my Instagram page, Roshan's Cake and Bake, as well as my Facebook page, and don't forget my website. Assalamu alaikum. I leave you in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.